Hello, it's Rainbow Staple, and we're here today with a Spright Cyber Dragon list. Now, if you like Cyber Dragons, I highly recommend adding the Spright package. We'll show you today the power of Spright. It's extremely powerful, and it really complements the Cyber Dragon package. Whilst pure Spright might technically be better, I find this more fun and a lot more spicy, so let's get into the deck list. So, we're going to do a quick rundown as to why Cyber Dragon Spright is worth playing, and then we'll do a card by card, then we'll be going into a couple of games just to show off its potential. So the first reason Cyber Dragon Spright is worth running is because I love putting Cyber Dragon in everything, and I think it makes it more powerful. Unbiased opinion aside, this Cyber Dragon Core is a really powerful card, probably one of the best normal summons you can get, and the best part about it for this deck is it's level 2. Now, if you've played Sprites before, you will know that when you have a level or rank 2 monster, you can special summon the Sprites from your hand. So you can go into your normal summon core, and then continue your Sprite plays with a side of Cyber Dragon Spice. Secondly, the Cyber Dragons have a lot of OTK potential, using mainly just the Chimeritic Rampage Dragon. Now, I know you can get Sprite OTKs with kind of Cat Shark, but it's a lot more complicated, and this is much less expected. You start out with your Sprite players, and then all of a sudden you bring out a Rampage Dragon, and then they're dead. They don't usually expect it. Thirdly, there are some powerful removal with Cyber Dragons, namely Fortress Dragon and Mega Fleet Dragon. Now, these allow you to contact fuse your opponent's board, whether it be a monster in the extra monster zone or machines. You can just fuse them off and then go into your Sprite plays and finish them off that way. Also notable is Cyber Dragon Nova and Infinity, which will allow you to get an extra negate and possibly equip one of their monsters, which is one of the most powerful forms of removal in the game. And lastly, but most importantly, people are very scared of seeing Cyber Dragon cards resolve. They think, once one resolves, I'm dead, I'm going to be OTK'd, that's it. So they kind of shotgun all their negates on your core, on your Cyber Emergency, instead of your Sprites, and then you set up this big board of just negates and things to go off. But then, if your Cyber Dragons don't get negated, you can just one-turn kill. It's a fantastic list, and let's get into the card by card. So firstly, we'll get the boring bits out of the way. We have the Master Duel Tax, we have 3 Maxi, 3 Ash, 1 Called by the Grave, couldn't find room for 2. Master Duel Tax, you kind of have to run these if you're running an optimal deck. Next, we kind of run a small Crossout Designator package. We run, obviously, Crossout Designator, a Nibiru, because that really shuts our game plan down, and we also run an Effect Veiler, just because it's a good one to have. Ash Blossom and Maxi can be used as well. And even further to that, if you're in a mirror match with Spright, you can banish one of your Sprites as well. So now we will move on to the spicy bits of the deck. We have the Cyber Dragon Core. So for my list, I run 2 Hers. I know it's not a level 2, but it's really good at recycling your materials. You can send this to the graveyard, bring back your core from the grave, or add the 1 Cyber Dragon that's in here specifically in case you don't have any Cyber Dragons in the graveyard, and this goes there. Now we also run Nashta. I haven't seen this in any other Spright Cydra lists, but I really can't resist running it. The potential of possibly bringing back the Nova or the Infinity is so powerful that I can't not play it. On the worst case, you can kind of special summon it with a core and then make Cydra, so it has some niche playability here. Obviously we run 3 core, one of the best Cyber Dragon cards in the game. Now, again, as I mentioned previously, level 2, great normal summon, brilliant for the Spright deck. And as mentioned previously, we have 1 Cyber Dragon just in case we need to add it off the Hers. And whilst this isn't technically a Cyber Dragon monster, it's a Galaxy Soldier. So this will let you go into your Nova and your Infinity a lot easier. The dream play with this is to draw Hers, add the Cyber Dragon after discarding it for cost, and then discard the Cyber Dragon for cost. Go into your Nova, revive a Cydra, go into your Infinity, jobs are good. We also have a couple of Cyber Dragon spells. We have Overload Fusion. This allows us with Verte Anaconda to summon out our Rampage Dragon, which can sometimes clutch games. We also run 3 Cyber Emergency, which is a given. This is essential for every Cyber Dragon deck. Honestly, you rarely need this because you'll be adding it off of core, and it's mainly just a effect negation bait. You don't often need what you add off this. We also have Cyber Repair Plant. This is good because you can add any Light Machine monster, so if you discarded or lost any of these monsters, you can just add Galaxy Soldier and go into your Infinity, really powerful. And we also have a rev system here. Once again, this is a good way to bring back either your core or one of your special summon monsters so that you can get some good value and possibly extend with your other sprites. And for the last card of the Cyber Dragon package, we run Cybernetic Overflow. Again, you really can't have a Cyber Dragon deck without this. And this actually makes the Cyber Dragons a lot more worth running in this deck, since if you even just have a core on field, you normal summon core and you do nothing with it, at least you can add this, pop one on their turn, and that sometimes can mess them up. So for the Sprite package, we have obviously 3 Spright Blue and 3 Spright Jet. These are the 2 main things you want to go into. You use your Spright, go into the Jet, and then go into your starter and add either the red or the carrot. We only run 2 reds and 1 carrot. Carrot I find rarely comes up, but red is probably one of the most useful because you can stop whatever their normal summon is, or, well, stop the effect of whatever the normal summon is, and that can end turns on its own. Whilst technically not Sprite cards, I do see these in a lot of lists, and they are very powerful. We have Iperia and Capshell. So these draw cards, so this draws cards when it's summoned, and this draws cards when it's used as material. Obviously they're both level 2s, so again these are extra normal summons, plus you can special these from the deck if you are out of kind of Sprite line. And the only other parts of the Sprite package are the Sprite Starter and the Sprite Smashers. The Sprite Starter is brilliant, although beware, it locks you into level 2s and rank 2s. So if you want to go into your Infinity or anything like that, any of these fusions, you can't if you use this on that turn, so be wary of that. The best bit though is Cyber Dragon Cydra. That's a rank 2. So you can still go into this. So if you do draw your Cyber Dragons and your starter, you can still finish on a Cydra plus some of your other materials. Monsters, even. And Sprite Smashers is just a very powerful removal. There's not much else to say about it, really. You can just banish one monster on their field and your field, but the payoff is worth it. Now we'll go into the extra deck where most of the spice shows up. We have the Chimeratech Rampage Dragon, which you can summon off the Overload Fusion, either through drawing it or straight through Verte Anaconda, which is, again, a game ender if you manage to get this off. So Chimeratech Fortress Dragon is a very powerful card. If you're playing against machines, you can simply summon one of your many Cyber Dragons, or special summon it if you're feeling fancy, and then contact fuse them off into a big dude. Now you don't really care about what attack it gets, it's just the fact that you can remove your opponent's stuff without actually destroying or sending to grave or anything like that. You just get rid of it. And that is something that just pure Sprite can't do. And on the same note, we have Chimeratech Mega Fleet Dragon, which lets you use one monster in the extra monster zone and one Cyber Dragon. What that means is if your opponent link summons a monster in the extra monster zone, you can summon a Cyber Dragon and fuse into this, which is brilliant because you often have turns that end on, say, Format Appaloosa or anything along those lines. Anything above a rank 2 is high value for this, and it's absolutely insane. We only run one because there's not really enough room in the extra to fit more in. So next on the list is Gigantic Spright. Now this is a very powerful extender that lets you special summon a level 2 monster from your deck, which is quite often going to be one of these two. Now, very similar to Spright Starter, you are unable to special summon anything other than level, rank, or link 2 monsters. So be warned when you're going into this that you won't be able to go into any of your kind of Cyber Dragon special summons, but sometimes it can be worth it if you don't draw the Cyber Dragons, or, well, that's the only situation really. Next we have the two very obvious ones. We have Cyber Dragon Nova and Infinity, which you will be going off through your Cyber Dragon and Galaxy Soldier. This one's a pretty obvious one. We have Zeus. Now, Zeus is actually kind of iffy in this deck. I've considered taking it out because the only real things you can do with it are if your Nova and Infinity survive and attack, and then you can summon over it. But if you're going into your Cyber Dragon lines, you're often going to be killing them. And similarly with Gigantic Spright, which locks you into level rank Link 2s, you won't be able to go into Zeus until the next turn after you attack with it. It's kind of there just because it's so good when it comes up, but it doesn't come up often. So now we'll be going into the Link monsters. We have Almirage, which is just great at getting your Cyber Dragons into the graveyard for Repair Plant and possibly Cyber Dragon Core's effect. Next we have one of the most interesting cards in this list. Whilst it's run in every Cyber Dragon list, the fact that it is a Link 2 means you can special summon it under Gigantic Spright and Spright Starter. So if you do draw your Cyber Dragons and your Sprites, you can still go into this play where you summon a Cydra and then you kind of do all your Sprite plays on the side. Next we also have Verte Anaconda. Now this is easy to explain. You are only running this for the Overload Fusion for the chance to go into Rampage Dragon. Now it is also a Link 2, but the problem with that is whilst you can summon the Anaconda, you can't fuse into something else because you'll be locked. So you need to be doing this without your Spright Starter or your Gigantic Spright. So this is Spright Elf. If you've played Spright, you know this, or if you've played against it, you know this. But you can special summon a level 2 monster in your graveyard as a quick effect, so you can use it on your opponent's turn, and you can summon material to tribute for your negates here. Super powerful card, I can understand why it's banned in the TCG. And for the last two cards, we have two very generic ones. We have the Nightmare Unicorn, which lets you shuffle one, and Access Code Talker, which if you've played Master Duel, you definitely know what this is, and it is a game ender. When it comes up, you just win. So that's it for the deck list. Now we'll be moving on to the games. Right, let's get into the gameplay. We have 4 games here. Now, full disclosure, there is a couple of plays that are a bit iffy. I was still learning the deck as I was making this, but I will point them out as we go on. So let's get into it. So, going into game 1, let's see what our hand was. So, a pretty decent starting hand. We drew our core, and that is what we're going to go ahead and normal summon. Now we're going to activate his effect, but that's going to get ashed. That's completely fine. We already have the Cyber Emergency, and we have a Spright in hand. Specifically the blue one, which is the best one. So let's special summon blue, activate his effect to add Jet. We will then go into special summon Jet and add a Smashers to hand. This probably should have been a starter. Now we're going to activate Cyber Emergency and add a core for the next turn if we make it there. Now we're going to go into Gigantic Spright. Do we activate his effect here? Yes, we do. We're going to activate his effect, special summon the Imperia, and then we're going to link off into Spright Elf. We're going to use Elf effects to target the blue and bring that back. Now, I want to pause here and say I probably should have gone into Carrot and Red, or at least one of the two. That was a mistake here, and plus, I should have set this as well. Yeah, we live and we learn. So our opponent is going to start their turn. They're going to Upstart Goblin into an Upstart Goblin, and then they're going to summon Rose, and I'm going to chain Max C. They're going to call by the Max C, but I'm going to activate Spright Elf to resummon the Max C. Now what this means is, because Called by the Grave didn't banish it, it doesn't negate it. So we get to keep our Max C effect this turn, and plus another level 2. Although unfortunately our opponent will activate Triple Tactics and draw 2, which we don't care about too much, to be honest. He'll link into Hayate, we will draw 1 from Max C. We'll attack over our stuff, and then link into Shizuki. That's fine, we've got a bunch of stuff in our hands, and yes, so does he, but it's the end of his turn. So, we'll draw into Jet and special the Jet, adding the starter. We'll special the blue, adding the Carrot, just in case we need it. We're going to link off into another copy of Spright Elf, just to clear up the board a little bit using the Max C. Then we're going to add back the other Elf to the field. Immediately link off into Access Code. And we're going to banish the Elf from the graveyard. Watch it go. Pop the Link monster. And then we're going to activate Galaxy Soldier, discard our core that we added earlier, and activate Galaxy Soldier, add another one. Let's do a bit of BM. Let's tribute summon a Galaxy Soldier, and then let's go into Gigantic, and let's start attacking for game. Finish him with the Galaxy Soldier. Now, there was quite a few mistakes that game, and a very jank end board, but as you can see, this deck has a lot of potential when you're a bit of a better pilot, and it's a bunch of fun. I mean, look at that board, it's stupid. Okay, so I spent a lot of time analysing this match and trying to read out every single card interaction that our opponent does, but it was very difficult, so I'm just going to say screw it. We've got a really rough hand this game. We can only really normal summon the core, and that's about it. Thankfully there's no interruptions. We're going to activate the Cyber Emergency and add the Nashta, and we're going to discard the Nibiru since it is a light monster to special summon it, and then go straight into Cydra, which thankfully is a Link 2, so it can actually be used with Smashers. Tiny bit of synergy there, got to admit. So he's going to activate Cynet Optimization that lets him normal summon an extra dude. We activate Maxi because why wouldn't you? It looks like he's going to be doing a lot this turn. He adds Microcoder, and then he is going to use his effect to link it from hand and the debug into Code Talker. Now he's also going to activate Microcoder from the graveyard and kind of do a bunch of stuff. He's going to add this codec and he's going to be activating it. He's going to do that a lot this turn. So we're actually just going to speed up here because he just does a lot of special summoning. He's going into the access code line. You've got your transcode talker. He's going to keep adding off the codec. Very impressive turn, honestly. And we'll see how my deck fares against it with one Sieger. But thankfully, he is giving me a lot of cards. So he's going to try and lock off some of my zones, which don't matter at all, but he's going to add off the codec again. I think he's procced that around 5 times now. He's going into Uncode Talker, activate the codec again. Now, when he goes into the access code, he's going to have plenty of fodder in the graveyard to banish, or sorry, destroy my entire field. He's going to special summon some more and activate codec some more. Go into Heat Soul, then he's going to draw one off that. And from the graveyard and here, so he's got so much fuel. He's drawn through 13 cards of his deck this turn. Well, not including the 5. 6. So he's finally gone into access code and we can finally banish that boy with Spright Smashers. And that was what we were waiting for the whole time. We were just sitting on that. Though he's going to continue to keep special summoning, and I just have to pray that he won't kill me this turn. I mean, look at how many cards I have in hand right now. He's going to go to battle and he's going to deal 4,600 or so. So after all that, we have survived, and for that we have won. We have many options here, so we're going to activate Cyber Emergency to bait any negates he may have. Nothing, but we're going to activate the Cyber Dragon Core to special summon a vanilla Cyber Dragon from the deck. We're then going to fusion summon into Mega Fleet, which is a fantastic piece of removal. We're going to go into Galaxy Soldier by discarding the hers, chainlink one soldier, second hers. That way you can always get the Galaxy Soldier and I can discard other cards instead. We're going to add back the Nashta from the hers, add the Galaxy Soldier from deck to hand. Then we'll summon, send a call to graveyard, special the Galaxy Soldier. We're going to go into Nova. Now this is pretty predictable. We're going to special summon. And that puts us at 4 summons, I believe. No, 5. I missed Nibiru. So we go into Infinity here and we are going to just normal summon Imperia. I mean, what's another card going to do? Why not? Let's steal his guy and attach it to Infinity, and then let's start going into our sprites. And that's when the opponent realizes he's screwed. I mean, most decks can win with a 17 card hand, let's be real, but it was a good example as to what it can do. So this game should be a lot easier to commentate than the last one. I think there's a lot less going on. So we have a kind of good starting hand. We have our core, we have a searcher for core, which we're probably going to try and bait with, and then we have every sprite we could ever want. So let's see how it plays out. We will activate Cyber Emergency, which will get ashed, which is brilliant. That's what we were going for. So that'll get negated, but we'll summon our Cyber Dragon. That will get negated. Now I'm fine, doesn't matter, but 2 negates already. So that'll fizzle, but that's fine. We got our Spright Blue, right? No, we don't. We don't. A second Imperm and a third negate. Well, that's fine, because our starting hand was crazy. We're going to summon Jet, and then special summon Red. We're going to go into Elf, and activate Elf to target the blue, and then go into Gigantic Spright. Now, I make a mistake here. I shouldn't have taken off the Elf for material to summon Eperia, because it loses attack. I thought I could summon it back, but that was wrong. So we summon Eperia, draw 1 into Cap Shell, bit of a dead card in our hand right now. We will link into another Elf, and we summon the Kara off of starter. And that's it. So I just wanted to show off how this deck can play through negates. I mean, that's a pretty standard Spright end board there, and there was 3 negates there, and 2 of them are wasted on our Cyber Dragon cards that are meh. They'll work out sometimes, but you really want to be getting those sprites off, and it's such good bait. It's fantastic. So this game is one of my favourites and the last one, so save the best till last. We lost the coin flip, so we will be going second. However, we've got a decent starting hand. He is going to activate Cynet Mining to ditch Subtraction. He's then going to add Circular, which is no surprise. He's going to ditch the Sigma, special summon the Circular, special the Sigma, activate Circular, and he's going to add Super Factorial. Now, you've all seen this, or at least I hope you have, and that's not what you came here to see. He's going to do a bunch of other things, which basically add cards to hand, normal them. He's going to go into a Link Disciple and Link Devotee, which is really cute. It does lock him out of level Link 3 or higher, which makes this a lot less scary. So he's going to special 2 tokens from that, which he can use to link. He's going to summon Wicked. It doesn't really do anything on my turn, so it's fine. He's got Exceed, so he's just going to summon a couple of those and do some more linking, I presume, into IP Masquerena and pass. Now, onto our turn. What are we going to do with this hand? I mean, as always, we'll normal summon our core. He's going to IP Masquerena straight away on that, and he's going to go into Appaloosa. Now, flashback to when I said it was great against Appaloosa. Your opponent link summons a monster in the extra monster zone. You can summon a Cyber Dragon and fuse into this, which is brilliant because you often have turns that end on, say, format Appaloosa. So let's special summon the Spright Blue so that we can have a level 2 on board when we fuse off the Cyber Dragon. How are we going to fuse off the Cyber Dragon, you ask? Well, we're going to use Mega Fleet. We're going to Mega Fleet the Appaloosa. He's going to Super Factorial and summon 3, and then he exes into Laplacian. Now Laplacian, he's going to activate his effect. He's going to discard 1 and get rid of 1 monster. Good pick. He does shut down most of our plays here, and this was a mistake. I was like, right, I'll bait the negate, and then I realised I could attack over it, which is what I'm going to do now. 400 damage, we'll take that. This is our end board and it's not very impressive, but at least we got rid of his negates and his board too. And so he's going to go back into his shenanigans. He's going to special summon Sigma, Normal, Diameter, special summon the Circular, and back into Albertian. He's going to attempt to add a Math Mech. I say no, you're not doing that, not in my game. So he's going to go into Splash Mage. He's going to special summon from the graveyard the Circular. Then he's going to go into Transcode Talker. Now I'm scared about access code because he's not linked anymore, link locked anymore. But he's just summoned IP, so thankfully no access code this turn, and we're still alive. So he's going to end turn on that board there. Nothing too scary. Only the IP is quite fierce. We're going to activate Core to summon another Core to keep a level 2 on the field, and it's a special so we haven't used it. There's that access code. Strange thing to IP Masquerena into, especially because it just gains attack. Thankfully left the level 2 on the board so we can special summon our Jet, add the Spright Starter, and then we're going to special summon our Red to get it out of the way, summon the Blue from deck using Starter, add the Carrot, And we've got all of them. We've got the whole happy family. Now we're going to go into Spright Elf, summon the elf, and then link into a gigantic. Now we're going to activate gigantic, learning our mistake from the previous game and detaching the core. We'll summon out cap shell, go into another Spright Elf, draw one from the cap shell, and activate the elf, targeting the carrot because spell trap negate, you can't go wrong with that. We drew a fantastic card off the top because we have, let's see, 2 Cyber Dragons engraved, so that's 2 pops on the opponent's turn. Pretty helpful, honestly. So we'll attack over the Transcode Talker and end turn since we can't get over it. Now, this was a mistake for me. He Dark Rulers the board, and then I realise I can't respond to Access Code Talker. I should have just straight away popped this in the standby, and I was going to, but I greeded a little bit. I thought maybe he's going to commit to more and I can pop more. But, lesson learned. He's going to go ahead and ash the search you get from when it gets popped, which is just salt in the wound, really. And we're just going to fast forward through him literally popping almost my entire board. For some reason he's going to leave the carrot up, and he does have a Talker engraved, but he's going to attack over that and give us one more turn, which might be a mistake. So we have one out to this Access Code Talker, and it is Infinity. And we happen to draw hers whilst having Galaxy Soldier in hand. So we're going to banish the core, special summon Cyber Dragon from the deck. We're going to activate Galaxy Soldier, pitching the hers, activate Galaxy Soldier. Does this look familiar? We're going to link into Nova. We're going to special off of the Nova the vanilla Cyber Dragon, link into Infinity, and steal that access code. Now we're going to go into battle and attack for 4800, which is not enough to kill him, but we have a negate. I considered going into Zeus here, but I would rather have the negate and destroy than not have a negate. And that'll be it. So this was a brilliant game because you got to see the powerful Spright side of the deck and then the powerful Cyber Dragon side of the deck. Such a fun deck to play, and I really recommend you try it if you have kind of these cards lying around, or you're playing Spright and just don't want to do Spright alone. Highly recommend. Anyway, thank you for joining me today on Spright Cydra. I genuinely think it's quite an insane deck. It's so much fun to play, and yeah, it can really get some surprise wins, and I always love that about Yugioh. Let me know in the comments if you've tried this deck, or if you've tried any similar lists. I'm always interested. Only if they include Cyber Dragons though. Anyway, as always, happy dueling.